Philadelphia, get ready to be inspired. If you need help finding the light in the darkness, don't touch that dial. Let's navigate life through the lens of hope with Scotty P. Inspirational speaker Scotty P speaks the importance of mental health in society and encourages techniques to overcome the everyday mental health obstacles that hold us back in life. It's not just inspiration, it's Scotty P Inspiration.
Alrighty. Good evening, Philadelphia, and thank you for tuning into another episode of the Scotty P Inspiration Show. Thank you to everybody who's tuning in today on our station, as well as all those in the local counties surrounding Philadelphia, and for all of you tuning in nationwide via Spotify, Apple Music, or www.dbam.com. Thank you so much. So hello, everybody. I am Scotty P, aka Scott Prendergast. I am your host. This is my show. Thank you for being with us on another Friday to start your weekend off with some inspiration, some mindfulness, paying attention on our mental health, and more than anything, learning to navigate your life through the lens of hope, because that's what we're trying to do here today. So thank you for joining us. I hope everybody's having a good time. I hope everyone enjoyed their Thanksgiving, and I hope if you're still in a food coma, that's okay. No one's judging out here. Keep doing your thing. But I'm really thankful that you chose to start this Black Friday. If you're shopping with some deals, maybe you need some inspiration. So thanks for tuning in today. So just some quick business for you. If you want to watch previous episodes, a couple ways you could do it. You could go on Spotify, search the Scotty P Inspiration Show, go on Apple Music or any major podcasting platform, and you could search the Scotty P Inspiration Show. You can find us that way. You could go on www.dbam.com. You can search Scotty P Inspiration Show, find it that way. Or you could go on my YouTube channel, that is Scotty P Inspiration, and you can watch previous episodes that way as well. Okay, so without further ado, I love to jump into it, get things started right away. That's what we do because we want you to be able to take this and run with this information to make a difference in your life today. All right, now, if you're not aware, I always like to start with a quote. I think it sets the ambiance and the mood and the scene real nice to begin things out. So here's the quote that I have for today. It is as followed. The more you believe in yourself, the more you trust yourself. The more you trust yourself, the less you compare yourself to others. Now, this is by an unknown poet or whoever it might be, but we don't know who said it, but I think it is fantastic. And this really sets the foundation for what I'm going to be talking about today for you all. And really the title of this message and what it's going to be is learning to believe in yourself again. And that's what we're going to be discussing. And this quote hits that right on the head, right? Because it says the more that you believe in yourself, that's the more you're going to trust yourself. And when you trust yourself, that's when you compare yourself less to others. So that's our topic today. But here's the thing that's interesting. I love to kind of counteract my own words that I say sometimes. Believing in yourself is something that we all know we're supposed to do, but it's not always so easy, right? Because there are a lot of factors that go into it, whether it be past hurts or believing in ourselves before and having our hopes dashed and being let down, and, a variety of different things. Believing in ourselves is something we all know to do, but, it's one of those things that can be a bit of a challenge. Believe in yourself. Just do it. Everyone tells you to. But the thing is, no one's going to help you with it. Because at the end of the day, learning to believe in yourself or believe in yourself again is a decision that you have to make every single day when you wake up. And it's not something that I can do for you. It's not something that anybody can do for you. It is an individual decision on a daily basis. But I think although that can be kind of like, whoa, seeming like quite a mountain to climb, at the same time, that's really encouraging. Because what that tells me is that it doesn't matter what happened yesterday, and it doesn't matter where I've been or what I've done or who I've been with or what the situation was. Every day when I wake up, I have a new chance to start to learn to believe in myself again. And I think that's a powerful and a beautiful thing. So today, we're going to talk all about how to do that. And in the second part of the show, we're going to give specific strategies. And the first part, we're going to talk more about the reality of trying to believe in ourselves, right? So one of the things that I wanted to start with is kind of more on the scientific side of things. And it's the idea that belief in itself is a powerful thing, right? Because when we believe in something, everything kind of falls into place for that and our actions fall into place. Because look, when we believe something, what we think translates to how we feel, and how we feel translates to the actions that we take. So if we believe in ourselves, we're going to have a higher self-esteem. We're going to feel better about who we are. And if we feel better about who we are, what's that going to lead to? We're going to take chances. We're going to take action on that feeling that's going to, what is it going to do? It is going to provide further evidence for us to believe in ourselves that much more. So it's all connected. And that's why belief is such a powerful thing, as is unbelief in ourselves. Because if we do not believe in ourselves, the same concept that I just shared, it applies, right? So I think that is something that is very simple, and a lot of people understand that, and we know that thoughts are powerful. But it's one of those things where you're like, oh, yeah, I know. You got to believe in yourself. I know, thoughts are powerful. What I believe is what I'll do, and what I'll do is what I'll say, and what I say will happen, blah, blah, blah. We've heard this before. But I think sometimes we really need to grasp this and understand that, okay, we're not going to say, I believe in myself once, and all of a sudden, all of our wildest dreams are going to come true. Because I think a lot of people and a lot of us, we have a tendency to think that, right? We live in this instant gratification world. And the second I say, I can do it, I expect to have $20 million in the bank tomorrow. Bruh, to put it simply, that's not how this stuff works in this life, right? Belief is a process. Belief in oneself is a process of ups and downs, a process of I feel like I can do this, I feel great about myself, but also times where you feel terrible about yourself. Right? But it's within that process, within those ups and that down, within the belief and the unbelief that we truly carve out a space for believing in ourselves. And a lot of this has to do with evidence that we perceive, right? Because think about it. Let's say you do something and you believed in yourself and you saw this thing happen in your life. What is that going to do? That's going to provide further evidence to you that, hey, you know what? I can do what I set my mind to. And on the other end of that spectrum, because we play both sides of the coin out here, that's what we do. If we have an experience where we believed in ourselves and it didn't turn out, we're going to be tempted to have that evidence provided back to ourselves, right? To say, well, look, I tried once and it didn't work, so what's the point of ever trying again? This is the reality of the situation, and we have to learn to fight this. This is a process. And belief in yourself is a process. So for you, the listener, what I really want you to understand is that learning to believe in yourself isn't an overnight decision that is changed, but rather it's an intentional statement that you make every day. And then after you make that statement, you have to go out and take that action to almost kind of prove it to yourself, right? Because it's not enough just to make the statement. We got to follow up with action. So how I say I believe in myself that I could do this with this or that, whatever it is, right? Now, what are you going to do to take action to follow that up so that you can start to truly see that come to fruition, right? And that's what this is about. And I think a lot of us, we get caught up and we get stuck because we say it and then one bad thing happens and we kind of just unravel at the seams and totally give up in believing in ourselves. And some of us, this will be years of this. I've talked to people and I've worked with people, coaching clients who have said, there was a time, Scott, where I used to believe in myself, but it's been 30 years and I just don't see how I can ever get that back. And to me, that is one of the saddest things in the world, because if you don't believe in yourself, we've heard this before, who else is going to believe in you? Probably nobody, right? It starts with that self-belief. And I think the thing that many of us forget is that we can get this back. We just got to be a little patient. We got to put a little bit of the work in. We got to shift our mindset a little bbit, but we can do this. You can learn to believe in yourself again. Now, does that mean that all your wildest dreams are going to come true and you're going to grow to be 7'7" all of a sudden overnight? Come on, no, that's not what I'm saying. The two are not together. I think we put those synonymous together a lot. Is believing in myself equals every wish I want granted? No. But without believing in yourself, I could tell you have probably little to no chance to achieving anything that you want in this life, right? So we can believe in ourselves, but it just takes a little bit of time, and we've got to make sure that we declare it and then follow up with action, okay? Now, one of the things that I want to touch on here, and I kind of just touched on it, but we're going to go deeper, is understanding that before we can believe in ourselves, we have to first get rid of that unbelief. Because I look at it like this. I look at the way that I'm visualizing it when I talk about this and when I speak about this to just groups and clients is I think of it as if it's kind of like a brick wall. And I imagine that you've built up this brick wall over the years really, really high. And it's either of self-belief or self-doubt. Now, the problem is if you have a really high brick wall of all this self-doubt, we can't just start stacking self-belief on that and expect everything to be okay. We got to knock down that wall first to the bottom, to the foundation, so that we can learn to then build a new foundation of self-belief and build strong on that. Because if you try to build a foundation of self-belief if you try to build up self-belief but have a foundation of unbelief, oh, come on. You and I both know what's going to happen there. It's not going to work, right? Because one thing happens, one thing doesn't go your way, and you're going to come crumbling back down to that foundation. So we got to learn to break apart, take a wrecking ball, so to speak, to that belief of that wall of unbelief. And we got to start from scratch. We got to build ourselves up again in believing in who we are and what we can do. Now, that's the metaphor. Now, how do we actually apply this? How do we do this, you might be saying? Well, good question. I think it's done in a couple of ways. One, I think it's done by being a historian, so to speak, of your life. And two, I think it's done by being an action taker. Let me explain what I mean by this. In order to move forward, we have to know where we've been, we have to know what we've done, and we have to know what our level of belief has been and who we are, right? So you have to be a historian a little bit, and you have to go back and say, hey, what situations, what misfortunes, what circumstances happened in my life to make this wall of unbelief so great, to make it so vast? What happened here? And we got to be a little introspective, and we got to go back and we got to look at this. We have to be a historian of the books of our life and go back and say, okay, what caused this? Why did I feel that way? Why did I do this? Now, I'm not saying this just because it sounds real nice and, you could write a book about that, blah, blah, blah. No, I'm saying this because this is something that breeds self-awareness, okay? And when you become a historian, so to speak, of your own life, you learn what you did, you identify what you did so you won't repeat that. Therefore, won't add more bricks to that wall of unbelief, but rather tear them down so you can start fresh with a new solid foundation of belief. So being a historian, I think, is the first thing. Finding out what you've done, why you're here, how you got here, the situations that put you here that feel like you don't believe in yourself. Identify what that is. Know it. Then, after that, after we've been a historian and we've figured out what's gotten us here and why we're here and the situations and decisions that we've made, then we have to be an action taker. Because if we're a historian and we knock down that old wall and we're like, yeah, I knocked down my wall of unbelief, look at me go. But if we don't take action to start to build a new one or new foundation, well come on. What is that going to be? It's going to be nothing. We're going to be sitting there with nothing, just thinking about, well, at least I don't have any unbelief now, but we're not building towards something new. So by taking action, that's how we start. Action can look any number of ways for you, the listener. Okay, taking action for your belief could be something like this. It could be if you have a new business and you sign up for a conference and you get accepted for the conference and they tell you to speak at the conference, believing in yourself that you can do it, going, taking the opportunity, killing the opportunity, doing great, then now you have something to say, hey, look, I just did this. This is an example. This is the beginning of me building the belief in myself. I have something to fall back on now that isn't an unbelief example, but rather is now an example of how I can do this, right? So taking action. And that was a kind of a bit of a advanced example, but on a very lower level, it could be this. It could be, hey, I have social anxiety. And it's really tough for me to be in situations where I'm around a lot of people to try to make friends. Maybe you've knocked down that wall of unbelief and you decide the action that I'm going to take to start believing in myself is I'm going to go out on a Friday night. Maybe I don't know anybody, but I'm going to go to a place, whether it's like a community center or an outdoor gathering, whatever it is, and I'm going to go and I'm going to talk to 3 people that I don't know. Boom. Simple. But what did you just do there? You took action on that belief, and now you're starting to build something new, to give yourself evidence in your mind to say, yes, I can do this. I'm now building that new wall of belief instead of letting that unbelief just totally run me down. Okay? So we've got so much more to talk about in the show today. I'm excited about it. I think this is something that every one of us could use a little work on, including me. So don't go anywhere, everyone. We're going to be right back after these quick commercial breaks.
Hey everyone, Eric Katz here, the owner of Katz Dogs Canine. Are you working from home and need to get your dog out running around for the day? Will you be traveling this summer and looking for a place to board your pup? Is your dog looking a little shaggy and need a haircut or bath? Are you looking forward to walking around and enjoying this beautiful weather, but you can't because your dog's pulling like a freight train? Well, you're in luck. We are a one-stop shop that focuses on daycare, boarding, grooming, and training. We are located at 35 Middle Road, Percy, PA, on 10 beautiful acres. You can check us out on Facebook and Instagram at Katz Dogs Canine or our website, katzdogscanine.com. Our phone number is 855-KATZ-DOG, 855-528-9364.
What's going on, everyone? This is Scott Prendergast here, aka Scotty P. Real quick, I want to talk to you about my business. It's called Scotty P Inspiration. And what I am is I'm an inspirational speaker, and I want to help others navigate life through the lens of hope. Now, I do this through speaking engagements, but also one-on-one life coaching. So if you're interested in booking me or doing some of that coaching, let me know. Check me out at www.scottypinspiration.com or check out my Instagram at scottyp_inspo. Find Yourself Boxes was created to foster the connection between a person and those in life who may be working through mental health challenges by providing curated and customizable boxes filled with research-backed wellness products that promote healing. Coupling personal experience with professional mental health guidance, Find Yourself Boxes meets people where they are on their journey. Wellness doesn't look the same for every person, and these products are packaged together to touch various aspects of our wellness spectrum. Find your healing with Find Yourself Boxes at findyourselfboxes.com, and you can get 20% off your first purchase. And welcome back, everybody, to the Scotty P Inspiration Show. Thank you for staying tuned in with us today. My name is Scott Prendergast, aka Scotty P, and I'm your host. So if you were just joining us today, we have been talking about a topic that is something we all can relate to. And that's what I love to do with my show, is something that everybody can relate to. And I'm talking about learning to believe in yourself again and how we go about doing that. So if you're just tuning in, a little synopsis of the first part, we were just talking about, okay, how do we learn to believe in ourselves, especially when we've had years of unbelief? We talked about some of the things that we could do with that. We talked about how powerful belief is. And also I likened it to a brick wall and how we have to tear down the bad so that we can start with a new foundation in our lives of positive self-belief and go with that, okay? So to tie into this, to go into the next part, the second part of my show, my favorite part of my show, one of the questions that I want to ask you, the listener, because I like to make this listener-centric, is as follows. What are the core beliefs that you have about yourself? Now, I've done a lot of work with a lot of different people on what core beliefs are. And essentially, if you do not know, no worries. I'm here to explain it to you. No worries. Core beliefs are those deeply held beliefs that you have about yourself that you've held for most of your life. So at your very core, maybe you believe you're a good person, or maybe you're a bad person. Right? At the very core, you believe that no matter what you do, you will never be successful. Or maybe you have a core belief that no matter what you do, you'll never be enough for people, right? It can be positive or negative. Now, what I want you, the listener, to do is I want you to identify what those are. I want you to really sit with yourself, and I want you to find out either now or after the show, hey, what are the core beliefs that I have about myself? What are these beliefs? And before anything else, just find out what they are. And again, be honest with yourself, because that's the only way this works, okay? So I want you to do that. Now, after you've found out what these core beliefs are, we're going to go down the question cycle here. Why are those your core beliefs? Why? Why do you believe that about yourself? Whether good or bad, whatever it is, why do you believe that? Okay? I want you to take that there. And I want you to find different examples that you've had too about why you believe that, and start listing them, or mentally listing them, writing them down, whatever works for you. But find out why you believe what it is that you believe about yourself, okay? Now, after we've asked ourselves why, and we've written some of that down, then our next question is, okay, what do we want the ideal core beliefs about ourselves to be? What do you want those core beliefs to be? That you can do anything you set your mind to, that you are enough for people, that you're somebody who makes a difference in this world. I don't know what they are for you. That's for you to find out, but I want you to identify what do you want them to be. Okay, so we've talked about what they are. We've talked about why we think that they are. Then we take it to the next step to say, what do we want them to be? Now, the final step, and probably the most important, after we found out what we want these core beliefs to be about ourselves, the last step is, what do we do to get there? What do we have to do? What changes do we have to make to get those core beliefs to become a reality in our lives and how we feel about ourselves? Right? So this question cycle right here is going to do a lot of things. One, it's going to help us to identify the beliefs that maybe aren't so great. It's going to help us to understand what happened, play the historian role to get why we're the way that we are, or where we're at. And then after that, we're going to identify what we want to do. We're going to look for some change. And then we're going to say, now how do I get that change? Right? And this right here is essentially the entire synopsis of what a lot of therapists are going to do if you choose to go to therapy. They're going to help to ask the questions that are going to put you on this road to becoming self-aware and understanding these type of things. I'm not a therapist. I do not pretend to be one. But I have a lot of knowledge about these type of things here. And so this is something that's helped me tremendously, and I want you, the listener, to apply this to your life as well. And if nothing else, it'll just give you more direction to being able to understand what these core beliefs are and how we can change them, knowing that they can be changed, and also finding work that we can do to learn to change them, okay? So that is a great first start. And if you've never been to therapy before, if that's something you're comfortable with, this could be a great conversation to start with that therapist if you choose to go that route. You might not, and that's fine too. But whatever works for you, the listener, that's what I'm all about here, is about finding the ways that work for you to navigate life through that lens of hope, okay? So in addition to this, to kind of moving forward, diving a little bit deeper here, if you were listening to the first part of the show, I talked about how you have to tear down that unbelief before we can really start to truly believe in who we are again, right? And I want to touch on this again because I think this image is something that a lot of us can relate to. I think throughout our lives, we're constantly tearing down and we're constantly rebuilding, whether that's in a relationship sense, in a career sense, in a family sense, in an identity sense. But I feel that that's the very foundation of what this life is adjusting, tearing down, and rebuilding. I think all of life kind of works that way. I mean, look at trees and how they change and they die, then they come back. So I really want to get this point home to all the listeners to understand that maybe you're not where you want to be right now. Maybe you don't believe in yourself in any aspect of life. Maybe you haven't ever believed in yourself, and maybe you feel that you never will. But just because that's how you feel right now today, that doesn't mean it has to be like that forever. And we can learn to tear down that type of thinking, and we can start over. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. And that's not a moral failing. That's not, oh man, look at me, I got to start over again, and maybe I'm 30 or 40 years old. What's wrong with me? No, that's somebody that's strong, that's willing to understand that, hey, maybe things aren't going in the direction that I want right now. I can make a change. And this isn't something that's going to set you behind, but it's going to set you up for further success. But how you choose to view that is up to you. You can choose to view it as, man, I spent the first 35 years of my life, or 40 years of my life, 50 years of my life, 20 years of my life, thinking a certain way, and it's not working for me, so all those years are lost. You can think of it like that. Yeah, I'm not going to tell you no. But just know that if you do think of it like that, you're going to be looking at your life as if all those years are done and lost and nothing good will come from them. Or you could choose to view it a different way. And you could say, hey, all those things that happened made me who I am today, which has led me to this realization that I want to make a change. And because of that, I will have X amount of years, whatever it is, whatever the good Lord gives you, to make that change and become who I want to be. Right? So it's all about perspective. So much of this life is about perspective and what we choose to focus on during the difficult times. Because I've said this before, and I will say it again, I will continue to say this. We cannot always control the circumstances in our lives, and we cannot control the things that happen to us. We cannot. Most times we can't. It's out of our hands. However, you know what we can control every single time and every day? What we can control is how we choose to react to those circumstances and situations. Friends, that's totally within our hands, and we can do that, make that decision anew every single day. It's never too late to start. I don't care if you're 96 years old listening to this, you can start today. Get yourself fired up because let's go, because you're going to see some changes, okay? So it's important for you to understand that and for the listener to really know that, and I want you to take hold of that and take heart and say, hey, you know what? I'm ready to start new. I'm ready to tear down that unbelief. I'm ready to believe that I can do something. I'm ready to believe that I matter. I'm ready to believe that I'm enough. I'm ready to believe that I can make a difference in this world. Believe it first. Action follows. Results will come. But just give it time. But it starts right here, right now. And I hope that's something you could really take from this today. So to kind of add on to this as we get towards the end of the show, we still got a few minutes left here. What I think is really important to understand too is the reality of some of this stuff. I think it's easy for a lot of us to go on YouTube, and maybe you're going on YouTube hopefully to watch this show, but even if not, people will search motivational speeches or inspirational content. And you see this speech or this content and you hear something about someone saying something and you're real fired up for maybe 30 minutes while you watch it, or maybe even the rest of the day. But then the next day comes and that fire burns down a little bit on the inside. You're kind of like, okay, yeah, I know I said I wanted to try that, but we got this going on, that going on. Then come the third day, most of us have usually totally forgotten about whatever it is that sparked that inspiration or fire inside of us, right? what's important to understand is that we have to be intentional about making sure that we create time every day to really nurture that belief, to nurture that we can do this, to check in on ourselves to say, hey, I know this isn't exactly what I was planning, but I still am holding on to this belief. What am I doing to make sure that I do that? Who am I surrounding myself with? What am I watching? What am I listening to make sure that I'm still keeping that inspiration and that fire inside of me? Because if not, it's going to go away. You may listen to this and be fired up, and afterwards, if you don't do something about it, it will go away, right? So we got to be intentional about this, and we have to understand that just because you make the decision that I'm going to believe in myself, that doesn't mean that all your dreams are going to become a reality tomorrow. It doesn't mean your dreams are all going to become a reality ever. It does not guarantee that. However, I will tell you this. Belief in ourselves, that is a roadmap. That is the beginning first step, the creation of a roadmap on how it is to conquer and find and live out those dreams. Now, roadmaps don't always get us to the destination in time. They don't always get us to the exact place we want to go if we take a wrong turn or this or that. But without a roadmap, we have no chance. And belief in ourselves is the first step in that, on that roadmap in this life. And I got to make sure that I emphasize that enough for everybody to know that it has to be intentional, though, every single day. But fear not, that's not something that you can't do, because this stuff is mental. We can do this. We just got to get ourselves in a position to start to be consistent with it so that we can start to see the results. Because as humans, we're results-based, right? If we start doing something and in a few days it's not working, we're like, I'm on to the next thing. Give it blah, 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 right? Give it time, but be intentional, be consistent with these different practices, and be intentional with the fact that no matter what's going on in your life today, you're going to choose to believe that you can overcome it and you can do it. If you choose to do that every day and you keep giving yourself that evidence provided to your mind, you're going to see some changes. But you got to go through some things first in order to see the fruit of that. And that's important to understand. So everybody, for the last 45 seconds, we're wrapping up the show with this. In this life today, I don't know what's going on with you. I don't know what you're facing. I don't know what your challenges is. I don't know who hurt you, what hurt you. I don't know what your day is dealing with today. But what I need you to understand is that having belief that you can overcome that is the first step to overcoming it. Because if you don't believe that you can do it, you better bet your bottom dollar you won't. But if you believe that you can, it doesn't guarantee that you will, but it guarantees that you will stand a fighting chance, and I guarantee you will learn something along the way within that. So be intentional, friends. It starts today. Let's make that plan. Let's do this. Let's learn to believe in ourselves again. Have a great weekend, everybody. This is Scotty P signing off.